Arcadian Vanguard presents the Wrestling News and your daily wrestling newscast for Friday, February 14th, 2025. Good morning, I'm Mike Sempervive. We begin this Valentine's Day edition with ratings news. AEW Dynamite attracted its lowest viewership of the year this week with 579,000 viewers tuning into TBS on Wednesday. That's down from the previous week's audience of 605,000. The rating in the 18 to 49-year-old demographic was a .16, also down from last week's viewership of .17. TNA Wrestling presented Impact yesterday on Access TV and TNA Plus, featuring matches taped on January 24th at the Boeing Center in San Antonio, Texas. TNA World Champion Joe Hendry made his first defense of the title against Jake Something. In a post-match angle, Nick Nemeth came out with Ryan Nemeth to demand a title shot, then wound up accidentally super-kicking TNA Director of Authority Santino Marella, who suspended him for 4 weeks. Josh Alexander took part in the final match on his TNA contract, losing to Eric Young. Alexander has been with TNA on a full-time basis since 2019. In a non-match segment, the Rascals and Ace Austin got into an impromptu brawl with NXT's Wes Lee, Tyson DuPont, and Tyreek Igwe. Frankie Kazarian beat Sami Callihan by submission. After the match, Callihan got into a brawl with Mance Warner. In other results, Masha Slamovich retained the Knockouts World title against Savannah Evans. NXT's Cora Jade beat Xia Brookside, and Ash and Heather by elegance defeated the King Bees. Ash and Heather continued the attack after the match until Spitfire made the save. Ring of Honor streamed last night on Honor Club, featuring matches taped on January 31st as part of Chris Jericho's Rock and Wrestling Rager at Sea on the Norwegian Pearl cruise ship. In the main event, Commander successfully defended the ROH World TV title against Nick Wayne. AEW International Champion Konosuke Takeshita was in action in a non-title eliminator match, defeating Tommy Billington. In other results, Harley Cameron beat Billy Starks. The Outrunners topped the Grizzled Young Veterans. Ricochet beat Serpentico, and Jay Lethal went over Mason Madden. Some matches were also taped on February 1st and 2nd at other AEW and ROH tapings. Turning to Japan, Kenta is returning to Pro Wrestling Noah full-time for the first time in 11 years. During a press conference held on Wednesday, it was announced that Kenta was no longer with New Japan Pro Wrestling and had returned to the promotion where he originally made his name from 2000 to 2014. Kenta left Noah in 2014 to join WWE, where he wrestled for 5 years as Hideo Itami. He had been with New Japan since leaving WWE in 2019. And finally, in WWE Legends news, Bill Eadie and Barry Darsow, best known collectively as Axe and Smash of the WWF Tag Team Demolition, have signed WWE Legends contracts, according to Mike Johnson, after years of estrangement from the company where they achieved their most high-profile success. Eadie and Darsow had been effectively blacklisted from WWE and its programming, stemming from a long-standing legal dispute over the rights to intellectual property of Demolition. They also took part in the CTE-related class action lawsuit against WWE, which was dismissed years ago. The new Legends deal would potentially pave the way for WWE-branded Demolition merchandise, licensing, and a Hall of Fame induction. Demolition were 3-time WWF World Tag Team Champions and held the record for the longest tag team title reign in WWE history until it was broken by the New Day in 2016. In addition to their time as Demolition, Eadie also spent a significant portion of his career as the masked superstar in Bolo Mongol, a member of the Mongols tag team, while Darsow had previously worked as Crusher Khrushchev, a member of the Russians faction with Ivan and Nikita Koloff. And before we leave you today, we'd like to remind you that however you consume your content, you can find the wrestling news 24 hours a day and 7 days a week across social media. On Twitter, follow us at Wrestling News AV. Our Facebook page is also Wrestling News AV. The Wrestling News can also be found on the Arcadian Vanguard YouTube page. And for those who utilize Amazon Echo devices, just tell Alexa to play the Wrestling News podcast. And remember to make sure you add podcast at the end. Once again, for daily updates, breaking news, and more, follow the Wrestling News across social media. And that's the news for today. If anything happens, we will be here to tell you about it. No clickbait, no paywall, just the Wrestling News. The Wrestling News is a division of Arcadian Vanguard, and the Wrestling Newscast is a production of the Arcadian Vanguard Podcast Network.